right, guys, this is part 2 of our solving one-step equations. Again, so we're looking at how we can solve equations that involve just one step. In the previous video, we talked about the addition and subtraction properties of equality. Right? So remember, adding and subtracting are inverse operations of each other. So in this video, we're going to look at multiplication and division properties. Okay. So the multiplication property says it's very similar to the addition and subtraction, except I'm multiplying. If I multiply both sides of the equation by some number, then I'm going to get an equivalent equation. Okay? So it's going to look different, but they're going to ultimately mean the same thing. All right. And then the division property of equality, you guessed it, that means we are going to divide both sides of the equation by the same value to produce an equivalent expression. Okay, and this helps us in solving equations. Okay, so remember, if you do it to one side of the equation, you got to do it to the other. And looking at this on the video, I'm realizing that these values may be a little bit blurry. And so problem 3, that says 4x equals 6.4. Okay, so here when I look at this, I have to realize what's happening. And so what I have to remember is that right here between 4 and x, that's an understood multiplication. Those are being multiplied together, right? That's 4 times x equals 6.4. And so to solve, since that's multiplication, I want to use the inverse property, which is division, and so I want to divide both sides by 4, right? And so that's going to, these are going to cancel out. It's going to be 1. So here, because I'm using multiplication, I'm using the multiplicative inverse. Right, and remember that multiplicative inverse has a value of 1, okay? And so this is going to be x equals, well, 6.4 divided by 4. I think that is 16, but or 1.6 rather. I'm going to check that on the calculator just to make sure. Yes, so that is 1.6, okay? If you need a calculator, your phone has a calculator, your computer has a calculator. There are also websites you can use. Desmos, it has a calculator, and so it pops up as a graphing calculator, but if in the bar where it has the little, it'll have like a 1 or something like that, and it'll just be this little blank box. You can type in there, you can type in 6.4 divided by 4, and it'll tell you the value of that, okay? Okay, and so, excuse me. Sorry about that, guys. All right, and so then let's look at another one. This one's using multiplication, so that says x over 4 equals -9. Remember, if you have fractions, that's division, right? Fraction indicates division. Okay, and so if I've divided, I'm going to use the inverse operation, which is multiplication. And so I'm going to multiply both sides by 4. All right, so multiplying by 4 and dividing by 4 are inverse operations. It's a multiplicative inverse, and so I know that value is 1, so I'm left with just x on this side. And then -9 times 4 is negative 1836. Okay, so that's the answer for that one. Okay, so remember, if it's multiplication, I'm going to multiply. If it's division, if it's multiplication, I'm going to divide to undo, and if it's division, I'm going to multiply to undo. Okay. All right, sometimes you'll have a fraction in front of the variable, and so in this case, that's 4/5 m equals 28. Well, I can use the reciprocals. Remember when we talked about the multiplicative inverse in class before spring break, if I multiply by the reciprocal, that's the multiplicative inverse. And what that does is it makes it a value of 1, which is what I want. And so we're going to flip that fraction. So the reciprocal, so if I have 4/5, the reciprocal, I flip that. So that's 5/4. So that's the reciprocal. Okay. And so I'm going to multiply by that reciprocal. So 5/4 times 5/4. Well, I know 28 divided by 4 is 7, and 7 times 5 is 35. You can check that in your calculator by just typing it in. You can type it in as 28 times 5 divided by 4, and that'll give you, it should give you 35. Okay, and I will double check that. Yes. Okay. All right, and so M is 35. All right. So there's some examples for you. This kind of goes back to some of the stuff that we started on again before spring break. So just kind of go back through that. You can watch this video as many times as you need to. All right. And again, here are some practice problems. I did not add any of the reciprocal ones. I will add that to the document before I upload it. So you'll have 3 rows instead of just 2 on the document online. Okay, so it'll have some of each of problem type 3, 4, and 5. Right? Again, message me in Canvas through Remind, shoot me an email. Any of those will work if you have a question. Okay, so please, please, please let me know if you are having questions with any of this stuff. All right, stay safe and try not to go stir crazy. And hopefully I will see you guys soon.